Welcome to In Progress, a podcast to help you grow and learn how to become a better version of yourself. Now, here's your host, Michael Cirigliano.
Welcome, everybody, to In Progress. I'm your host, Michael Cirigliano, with special guest Danny Boynton.
How you doing today?
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very good, actually. Very, very good. I'm on a little staycation myself right now. As you know, I just left my job, got a new one. Got a lot of new changes coming in life. Pretty excited about all of them. Feeling good. Yep.
So, I've been around you for a good number of relationships. You're with a wonderful, wonderful woman now, soon to be mother of your child.
Absolutely.
How, prior to that, I know you've been in a couple iffy relationships.
Horrible.
Let's
be frank.
What is, I didn't want to just shit talk. What is it like trying to find a partner while you have a child? Is that, as a dad, because I know as a mom, it's a factor. Like,
Yes.
if I meet a girl and she's a single mother, that's actually something that I got to sit and think about. I feel like women are a little more open to the idea of stepping in as a stepmother or like someone to take care of the children as well. Do you, what's that like dating, trying to find a partner while having children?
So, to be completely honest, it's all about mindset.
Okay.
So, there's a lot of guys out there where if you're looking just for that family thing, then you're going to be fine. But if you go into it and you're thinking like I did for the first couple of years afterwards, like when you're a single dad and you're a good single dad and you take care of that kid and you're out in public and you got like a 1-year-old kid with you at the park and you're playing, like you're a hot commodity to women. Really? It does something to their genes. I don't know what it is. So you can go two different ways here. You can go, no, I just keep wanting the family route. Or you can be like, holy shit, I have myself the world's cutest dog right now at the dog park.
Right.
But you have to literally be a good dad. Like, don't be that piece of shit that just takes your kid to the park like a dog just to get the girls. Like,
exactly.
You have to, because women will sense that shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can go that route where for a while I was a really good dad, but when I didn't have my kid, I was a goddamn dog for a long period of time because of that mentality there. Where occasionally it would spring up where it would be like, where that's where like the relationship issues you would see come in, mostly during later in my life, but you get to a point where you get that feeling like, okay, I do want the family. I do want to do this right. I do want another kid. I am getting older. I don't want to be 40 years old having my second kid, or my one kid's 20 and my other kid's, like 3.
Exactly.
Or, like, you don't want
Huge
that.
gap in age.
You don't want that. So you meet somebody, but yeah, it's tough meeting them because you get that fear in your head when you finally flick that switch from fuckboy, where you don't care if they don't want to be around your kids because you're not even really introducing them to your kids at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when you're with your kids, like, sorry, sweetheart, I'm busy this weekend. I'll catch you on Monday, But so when you finally go to introduce your kid to said woman that you think could be the one, it's really scary. Because one, you don't know how your kid's going to react. A lot of children don't react well to meeting new people. So you're worried about that. If that goes good, you're worried about how do they treat them? Can I leave my child alone with them? And then you get that feeling of what's baby mama going to think? Because now here comes the flip side of it. You see a lot of that stuff on Facebook and stuff of like you don't want the kid's mom dating somebody and vice versa too. And you get worried that they're going to freak out about it and stuff like that. So you get that in there too.
Did you have to go through that at all, or were the mothers of your children fairly okay with it?
They were okay with it as long as the introduction wasn't so quick, which my fault was that I would do that though.
Quick?
Pretty quick, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 2-3 weeks maybe. And
what made you go that route, and then what made you change that? Like why were you? Because I've dated one single mom, and me meeting the kid was, I think it was no, it was quick actually. It was like 2 weeks.
2-3 weeks.
And obviously you don't want the kid to get attached to somebody and then like that person get ripped out of their life.
I'm mommy's friend right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what made you so quick to do it? Did you not see it as a big deal until later in the line, or like what?
I'm trying to think of my first real relationship after Joseph was born.
Because I feel like it's, I don't really see the big deal in it, but at the same time, if it ends up being a long-term relationship and it doesn't work out, then you're essentially ripping a woman away from the child, like a second mom away from the child.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want anybody to come into a child's life and then leave like that. It's detrimental.
Absolutely. I felt that way when I did it, honestly.
Absolutely.
Because you build a relationship with the child builds a relationship with you, asking where are they and all that stuff, and then you're no longer with the person. It's like, damn. Like, I remember, I will never forget When me and Jess broke up, we broke up. I didn't see her son anymore.
Yeah.
And that I felt like a piece of shit for that.
Yeah.
And then I remember I lived across the street from her uncle.
Okay.
And her son was at her uncle's house and hasn't seen me in like 2 weeks. Saw me and goes, "Oh, Michael." And I was so distraught because I'm like, what a piece of shit I am for doing this. But the relationship lasted 2 years, but it's like you never really know how long it's going to be because dating, a lot of relationships, it's inevitable. It's not going to work out.
Correct. Yeah.
So what, like, does that go through your head? Like Joey's going to get attached to this woman and then we're just never going to see each other again?
Correct. But you also have to think, you kind of have to be a tiny bit selfish and be like, am I going to be that single dad my whole life?
Right.
Am I going to have to keep going the dog route my whole life? You'll end up with 400 kids, 400 STDs, and a drug addiction. You know what I mean?
That's a horrible path to go down.
Horrible path to go down. You don't want to do that. So, yeah.
So you just pick. So like with Christina, what made you think that she was the one that you can like introduce your kids to? What made you feel like that was a safe route to take?
One, her background. She worked with kids before.
Okay.
So she was a nanny. So that's one good thing. You know, you've worked with kids before. You don't even have kids. You already know the deal. Personality match too. It's
matched you or matched Joey?
The kids. You have to look like the best parents are like the kids growing. The guys in your group of friends. They're the wild, crazy one that acts like the 7-year-old still. That's going to be the best dad out of the group.
Really?
Always is, because they think like children. And they can get on the level of a child, and they can connect with that child, and they can understand that child. That's the moment I fell in love with her too. So that's when I knew was like the way when I first interacted with her and her personality and everything. She was intelligent for one. It wasn't like talking to drywall. So and then like the gentleness, figuring out her past and all that, and then her being open to me even having 2 kids with 2 different mothers.
Yeah.
That is. You talk about how hard is it being a single dad? How hard is it being a woman who has to try to get into somebody's life, who is a man who is 36 years old, doesn't have the greatest of job right now, and has 2 kids with 2 different mothers, and he's up and down with both of them all the time. That's most women. I look at that and be like, yeah,
running.
See ya. Like at most, we'll hang out a couple of times. I'll get what I want, and I'm gone.
Yeah,
that's it.
Right.
So if they stick around, you automatically know you got yourself a gem here. She's sticking around for a reason. She could have jetted. She could have told you no. There's a billion guys out there trying to get with him. You know, you can't be stupid. There's a billion guys out there trying to get with that girl.
Absolutely.
And you being a single dad of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, however many, like that, the odds aren't in your favor anymore.
Right.
I mean, some girls do look at you like, yeah, he's really hot, but that's usually as far as it goes. A week into the relationship, they're like, yeah, you're hot, and I thought I liked that, but this is a lot, and I can't deal with it.
Right.
And then they're gone. And then that's where that fear comes in of having that happen to your child. And but yeah, that was it with her. That's the moment I fell in love with her. Is we went to the Renaissance Festival here in Sterling, New York, and we got out of the car, and the whole family was with me, and my mother came too, my sister, my brother, and we took my son Oliver, who was just a couple months old at the time, and my oldest son Joseph, who was just turned 7, and he ran out of the car and ran ahead, and Christina ran after her and was doing cartwheels with him and stuff, and my son's smile on his face was bigger than I've ever given him a smile, joking around with them or anything like that. And I looked at my mother and I was like, I'm fucked. And she was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm fucked. This is the one. And she just laughed and she was like, oh, well, buckle up, kid. And so, yeah, it's tough dating, but
absolutely,
you find them. They're out there.
So now you got one on the way.
Yeah.
So is this the one where because like obviously marriage is a thing for you.
Yeah.
And is that still like a thing for you where you're like thinking you still want that family, that marriage, that white picket fence?
Oh, even more so now. It's gotten even more so with 2 kids, doing it wrong 2 times, and then finally getting the right one and a girl I can actually stand to be with. Even if there was no baby, I would still be with her 100%.
Right.
Like it's a totally different feeling. And going through the process of a pregnancy finally. I wasn't a part of my first 2 kids' pregnancies at all. I met them after they were both born. I'd never been to an ultrasound, ever. I've gotten pictures, but I've never actually been to one. And I got to go to one, and you can ask Christina sometime. I was like a little child watching Coco Melon in front of a television while they were doing the ultrasound. I was staring like just so enamored with the whole process.
Yeah.
And so it's really fun to go through all that. And, you know, this child's going to have my name too, which is my other 2 kids, they don't have my last name. They're Boynton by blood. They're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, not legally.
Not legally, though. And so this one's going to have my last name, and my family name dies with either me or my brother. And my brother's a dog. I don't know if he's going to, if he is, it's not going to be planned, but, you know, maybe one day for him, hopefully. But so it's on me, and again, that felt like a failure, you know what I mean, to the family. Like, here I am, I have 2 boys. I got it done twice, you know what I mean? Some guys, you know, you see stories of kings in the past having girls and can't have a boy to carry on the lineage. I've done it twice, and 2 of them don't even have my last name.
Yeah.
I got 2 Jon Snows from Game of Thrones here. And so to have that finally and to have my son, his middle name is going to be Daniel. So his name will be Liam Daniel Boynton. And just to hear that, you know, with the English name, with my middle name and my last name attached to it, it's just like, it's a whole new resonating feeling that you go through. So yeah, that feeling of that white picket fence, the family, it all gets better. And you know, we live in a nice town out here now, so you see other people with that too, and you're just like, yep,
that's what you want.
Yep. As a kid, no, you're like, no, I want to be a ninja, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
No, but then when you get to, when you have the kids, and you're like, no, that's what I want. Granted, if I was still a single guy at 36 years old with no kids, and I looked at that person with the white picket fence, I'd be like, nah, I'm good. And looked at my bank account, you know what I mean? I'd be like, no, I'm good where I'm at. You know, I'd get in my Lambo and drive away.
Yeah.
But once you have the kids and you're forced into that situation, you realize how much you love it, and then you see that now, you're like, all right. So it's 50-50. You know, if you already have kids, then yeah, that white picket fence is what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
And even for some single people, that's still what they're longing for. You know what I mean? And you just can't look too hard.
So your relationship with the other 2 mothers now, now that you've matured, grown up, you found the one that you want to be with. You have a child coming with the one you want to be with. What is your relationship like with the other 2 mothers now? Is it a better relationship now, or is it?
It's up and down. It's a roller coaster, and it's always going to be.
Really?
And yes, anyone that tells you it's perfect all the time is lying. Anyone that tells you it's awful all the time, that one could be a little bit more true.
Yeah.
You know, depending if it's 2 really toxic people.
Yeah.
But it's never going to be perfect all the time. So there's periods of 2-3 months where everything's roses. You know, me and Christina will go down to watch a soccer game with Joseph, and his mother and his stepdad. His stepdad was the coach of the team, and his mom was on the sideline. So it was a big family thing. Yeah. Joey ate it up and loved it. And then like 2-3 weeks later, something will happen. Well, we'll get into a spat about something, either financially or a scheduling conflict or anything stupid. Yeah. And it'll just be back and forth for a couple weeks. And I mean, there's a couple big things that happen here or there. I won't get into specific details and stuff like that, but like things happen because emotions get high. Yeah. And as I've gotten further into it, at the beginning of all of it, I would feed into all of it. When they would piss me off, I'd say something snotty back. You know, and you just keep nipping at them, and it just makes things worse. Absolutely. And I've been to therapy and stuff like that, and I've learned a lot, even from Christina and stuff. You just let it go. Yeah. If it's not about your kid, and you don't want to engage in that conversation, literally just don't even reply to the text message. Don't even call me anymore. You would tell me that all the time. Just put the phone down. Don't even answer it. Yeah. Don't even answer it, and forget they even sent it to you, and it can't bother you. When you respond to it, they're going to respond back, and it's just going to keep bothering you.
Exactly. It just builds the emotion higher and higher.
Exactly. So ever since I've been doing that, things have gotten a lot easier. And I pretty much have the attitude now of, I used to bend over backwards for my kids' mothers. And I would, like, used to talk about sacrifices earlier. I would, like, if they called for anything, I would just do it. Give up this day, did it. Give up this and sacrifice this, and did it. I would never get anything in return. Sometimes here and there I would. But I would never get anything in return. Yeah. It was all give. Give. And then eventually, like through therapy and relationships, like with Christina and my mother and friends around me, would be like, dude, stop. Stop. You're allowed to live your life. They can't go on and move on with their lives. They made the decision to be single mothers and to have primary caretaker. That was their decision. And as a single mother, that I hate to say it, women, but that is your decision. Yeah. And it may not be the best decision all the time to do that, or you may have had to make that decision, which in that case, power to you. Yeah. Good for you. 100%. Absolutely. And I applaud you, because being a single mother is 1,000 times more hard than being a single father. 1,000 times more hard.
Because you're the disciplinarian majority of the time.
You're everything. Yeah. That child came out of you. Like, as much as we don't want to admit it, guys, like we had literally 15 seconds of you know what, and then we waited for 9 months for a baby. Yeah. Like, I watched my girlfriend, she can barely walk up the stairs. You know, she's carrying my child. Yeah. I have to help her get up. I have to help her put her socks on sometimes. Like it's, Like, so as a mother, it's really hard.
Yeah.
So you have to give them the respect there, but you also have to, as a male, you have to put your foot down. When you start giving too much, they start taking advantage of it sometimes.
Absolutely, and you also have to be a role model for your son. You have to show him what a man is supposed to do, and being at someone else's, like you said, beck and call all the time is showing him how to treat relationships in the future, which is only going to be terrible.
Exactly.
He's gonna see like with us and our parents. You know, you see the fighting all the time, and you're like, that's what I need to. That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, that's it.
And you don't want that. You want to give the best possible example to your child. And you have 2 boys, so literally those 2 boys are looking up to you and saying, "That's me.
Yep.
That's what I'm gonna be."
Absolutely.
And they, you know, look at you as their hero.
Absolutely.
You know, so they're gonna do what you do.
So it's a fine line of when to argue with them and when not to, and you learn really quickly of like. It's not even a sense of arguing, because arguing, you don't even want to argue with them. Arguing is you've already gone too far at that point. It's when to be stern with them, but also showing your children that you can still respect them while being stern with them. No, I'm not doing this. But you don't have to be that guy is, no, bitch, I'm not doing this, blah, blah. That's where men make the mistake. And then they cry about how, oh, I'm just trying to see my kid. Well, sorry, I wouldn't want my kid around you either when anytime a conflict arises, you are going with anger route.
Right.
So, like, that's when the women have a very valid point of, my kid doesn't need to be around you right now.
Yeah.
And so that's where you learn really quick, and I had to learn that too, of what to say and when to stop texting. You would tell me all the time, stop, too much, too much, you would tell me.
Yeah.
Short, sweet.
You were very good at continuing an entertaining conversation that didn't need to be entertained.
Exactly, which leads to nothing but a downfall.
Yeah.
Nothing but a downfall, because ever since when you stop, things become so much better. Me and Oliver, my middle child, his mother, me and her got into a spat recently, and as soon as we backed away from each other and just went back to just kid and kept everything super short, it's back to, okay, we're cool again. And that's how it needs to just...
extra emotion.
It's when things start to get too close together. And you'll see people post memes of it all the time. Like, I see that one that floats around where it says, like, what was it? Like, it's really not hard to get along with your other kid's parent as long as you mind your own business. Like, that is 100,000% true. Stop caring about what they are doing.
Yeah, as long as
unless it doesn't affect your child or your visitation with your child, then you should not care. You have no say of who they bring your kid around. They have no say of who you bring your kid around. And to argue about any of that is just null. Because when you get to court, I can tell you from experience, one of my kids' mothers tried it with me, and they will tell you straight to your face, it does not matter. It does not matter who they bring them around. It does not matter who they choose to have as a babysitter, as long as that babysitter is competent enough to be a babysitter.
Yeah.
It could be the 16-year-old girl down the street. You have no say in that. And until they mess up, that's when you can take said action.
Right.
And that's where people would like mess up and text and call and freak out.
Do all the bullshit.
You got it.
So at what point did that shift for you? Because I know, I mean, recently I've seen you entertain bullshit, and I've seen you get into those spats. At what point were you like, enough is enough?
Just recently, honestly.
Well, what do you attest that to? Is there something that you do attest that to, or is it just like at one day you just like kind of woke up and like, I shouldn't be doing this?
Rock bottom.
Rock bottom.
Rock bottom.
What happened?
So me and Christina, we went through a little bit of a spat. I won't get into any of it, but we broke up for a little while there. It was a 2-week period where we weren't together. And
you and Chris.
Christina. So during that time period, that was rock bottom for me, because just to give a tidbit of information of what had happened was the other children's mothers didn't have boundaries with the relationship I had with Christina.
Okay.
And it caused a strife and almost like a big triangle. Yeah. And it was not healthy, it was toxic, and it caused a lot of strife between me and her. And that's when we broke up is when I hit rock bottom. Like, to the point of every other relationship looked like a joke to this rock bottom.
Really?
Yes. And because this was the one, like you said, I knew it was the one.
You lost it all at that point.
Yes. And like when you look back, like I said before, that line of when I thought I lost that, it was really I was losing the family. This was losing the family and the love of my life all at the same go.
Yeah.
And all because of boundaries. And so that's when I had to realize, like, and I had to look in the mirror too. at myself.
Which is the toughest thing.
The toughest thing. That was the biggest thing. Was I had it in my head that me and Christina were done, and that was it. And I was going to be a single dad to 3 children. And that's a rock bottom right there. That like you told yourself you would never do this, and you did it again. And you told yourself you'd never do this, and you're doing it again. And you're making the same mistakes afterwards, and things that led up to things. So that's when I had to,
like a repeated thing.
Exactly, every time. And a lot of it had to do with like I had anger issues, and I'm the first to admit that. And I had to look at myself in the mirror and be like, what's the factor here in you? You know the factor in what everything else happened, but what about you, Dan? What are you doing in this thing? Because you're part of this. You're part of it. You're not just in here like Switzerland neutral looking at everybody going, what's going on? Yeah. Like, you're part of it too. Yeah. So I had to literally sit there and think, and Christina was begging me before even the breakup happened, like literally on her hands and knees. Like, get therapy. Something, you're not Danny. You're not the Danny I fell in love with. Like, what's going on? A lot of it was work, finances, struggling to,
whole lot of stress,
worried about another baby coming where I knew I couldn't afford it, and too comfortable in my job and scared to move, and the boundaries of the other kids' mothers. And that's when it hit me, and I was like, she was right, I need therapy again. And I got comfortable, and I got out of therapy a while back, and I went back into it, and I got a new doctor. And my new doctor is a lifesaver, and she got me on a new medication that increases SSRI, increases serotonin, escitalopram it's called. It's great. And they use it for like depression, anxiety, all sorts of stuff like that. Even like ADHD it can help with. Okay. And my doctor wasn't just like a normal doctor visit. It was almost like a therapy visit. And she turned and talked to me for a good 30 minutes about everything, and told me about this new drug they wanted to try. And I was you know me, I hate medications, big pharma, all that crap. I hate it. As a kid, I didn't even take Advil for headaches because, like,
you fucking warrior.
I was a soccer player. I was a goalkeeper. If you did that, it ruined your reflexes. I was such a straight edge. And look where that went. So yeah, I took this medication she was on, and it was like day and night. Within a week, I felt, for the first week was awful, nausea. I felt dizzy and tired all the time. But then after a week, it was like a light switch. Things that bothered me didn't bother me anymore. Yeah. I'd get that text message from one of the kids' mothers, and I'd be like, just move the phone to the side. That's it. And go about my day.
So the same text messages that you would have previously entertained and like gone into,
paragraphs.
You see it, and you're just like, I recognize what this is, and I'm not going to
entertaining it.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
And like my therapist told me all the same things you were telling me. My mother was telling me. Christina was telling me. Everyone was telling me. But you don't listen. You know what I mean? You don't listen.
You don't listen
when they're smacking you in the face with it. Like I said, until rock bottom. Yep. Nothing matters, because I don't know if it's like a man thing. I don't know how women think. I've been trying to figure it out for 36 years. I haven't figured it out yet. But as a man, like, we're very simple creatures, like you said. Very simple creatures.
And you get stuck in your ways.
Yep.
And I know with you, I mean, it could be a man thing. It could be, gender neutral, I guess you could say. But I know for myself, and I mean, I saw it firsthand with you. You do what you do, and you don't change what you do. You hear the right things, like advice. Yeah. You could get advice from someone who knows exactly what they're talking about. Yeah. And you're just like,
maybe Jordan Peterson himself. Yeah.
And you're just like, I know better for me than you know for me.
Invincible.
Exactly. And that's probably that's I feel like that's a inherently male point, like,
I want to believe so too. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because we're the boss. We're the alpha male.
Totally not a scientific opinion, but
absolutely no. This is biologically speaking. This is a scientific conversation. But yeah, no, I mean, so you hit the rock bottom, and then that's when it
that's when it hit, and I realized what it was at stake here. And I realized that if I didn't act and I didn't do these things, and so I went and got therapy fully knowing I wasn't ever going to get Christina back. Right. We were done. That was it. She didn't want me anymore. It was done. I ruined it. She ruined it. We all ruined it. Yeah. And that's when I went to therapy. I was like, I'm still going to do therapy. Even though I'm not going to get back with her, she's right.
So you were trying to better yourself at that point.
That's it. I was listening to everybody finally. And I was like, I need to better myself. And then when I got into therapy helped me figure out ways to better myself. And then a good friend of ours I was in contact with about it when I was going through a lot of the depression and stuff, he offered me a way out of my comfort zone. and pretty much gave me the hard love I needed. And
he's very good at it.
Yeah, he is very, very good at that. I'll give him that. Love him for it. That's why I go to him.
Absolutely.
And he pretty much put it on a silver platter for me. He goes, here, I know it's not work you're used to, but I know you can do it. And if you want to, here it is. It's double your salary. You get the benefits. You get the pension. You got days to work with or play with your kids still. You got everything laid on the platter for you. He did it months previous to that too, and I just kept putting it off. Comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that too. So I'm in the therapy. I got the medication. I got the better job. And then that was all within like a week and a half period. These things were starting to unfold.
Yeah.
And the medication was kicking in harder and harder where I started feeling good again. And then that's where me and Christina buried the hatchet finally with each other. And she was going through the same kind of processes and things.
Yeah.
And me and her hashed things out, got back together, and we've been perfectly strong ever since because we got through like the roughest, darkest time of our life.
Absolutely. Because
Because of boundaries I had to put in place with these other kids' mothers too, to be and realize that what was the X factor here. This whole thing stemmed from one point, and that was not both of us not creating boundaries with my kids' mothers in our life. So that's where we had to be like, they're all living their lives, but I'm just supposed to bang at their beck and call for them. But I can't give that, it's not how it's supposed to work. And I had to realize, like, no. You wanted primary caretaker in court. You got it. I am the plaything. I'm the play guy.
Yeah.
When Daddy, you come to Daddy's house, we're going to Chuck E. Cheese. We're going to go kick the soccer ball around. Yeah, you got to take the trash out. Yeah, you got to clean your room. You got to make your bed. You got to put your dishes away when they're done. But you know what I mean? I'm not going to make you go out and mow the lawn. I'm not going to make you do all that kind of, we're going to have fun when you're here.
100%.
But the thing is going to be flipped too. If you're a single dad who has full custody, you are now in that single mom role. And I have to explain that to my oldest son, Joseph, all the time. I want to live with you, Daddy. And I asked him one time, why do you want to live with Daddy? Because when I'm over at Mommy's house, she's just always makes me do stuff I don't want to do. Well, what is that, buddy? Like go take like feed the dog and take the garbage out, and I'm like, oh, so chores and do homework, and I have to go to school. I'm like, well, you realize, buddy, that if you were at Daddy's house all the time, you'd be doing those things over here too. And if you were only going to Mommy's on the weekend, she would be the one you'd want to live with because she would just be having fun with you. So that's where like a lot of women, they get upset at that because they see the dad being able to, he gets a week and a half pretty much to go do whatever the hell he wants to do. And then he just has to be a dad for 2-3 days max and send the kids back and gets to be a single dad again. That's how single moms view it. But a lot of single moms don't view that they don't see the side of like the dad type like me where during that week and a half, like I look at a school, there's a school straight across from me. Every time I look at that school, I think of my son. Every single time. Every time I watch a soccer game or play FIFA, I think of my son. Every time something funny happens, my son said to me at one point, I think of my son. If someone farts, I laugh because my youngest Oliver laughs every time someone farts. And I think of my son. Like they don't realize that it sucks.
Yeah.
It really sucks.
Absolutely.
But I also feel for those single mothers too, because inside that's them projecting. They're jealous. They're mad they don't get to go out and live that life anymore because they have that role to play. But it's also what they either had to do or they chose to do.
Yeah.
And when you have to do that, whether you're a guy or girl, that's just what you got to do. And that's where it comes in with the fear and stuff like that, or some people just don't know how to act when that emotion hits you.
Yeah.
And they panic and they do stupid stuff. I saw a video of a woman walking into a bank and she was just screaming she's robbing it and to give her the money. She has no weapon. She's harmless. She's just screaming, give me the money. And people thought she had was going crazy. Well, she was. She had a breakdown because she had 4 kids to feed and she couldn't fucking feed her kids anymore. And it got to the point where she had a mental breakdown. That's where that feeling takes place, where I can't provide anymore and I'm gonna fucking lose it. And it's not about me. I don't care. I'll wither away into nothing before I let my kid die. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you will eat everything and drink everything before I have a drop of water until I know we have enough for everybody.
Yeah, that paternal instinct.
Exactly. And that's where some people, they get like that. And you got to be able to control it. And you got to be able to keep the path. That light at the end of the tunnel is there. You just got to keep the path. Otherwise, you can get lost very easy in this messed up court system and the games you can play, and it gets really rough.
Absolutely. So for people watching the podcast who may be either going through being a single dad and they're struggling, or people that are going to be going through that single dad and know they're going to be going through that single dad journey, what advice would you give them?
Don't be scared, for one. And the biggest thing I can tell you is that you have to care about the child.
Mm-hmm.
That is the number one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at yourself and realize, are you able to be a father right now? And it's scary until you get the child in your arms, so do a couple visits before you really sit down and think about that fact. But you'll know the moment that child's in your arms whether or not you're ready for this.
Mm-hmm.
But don't be scared. Sign the acknowledgement of paternity. Definitely get a lawyer and go through the court system. Always go through the court system. Even if you and the child's mother are 100% getting along, you can get, both of you get a lawyer, or even just the two of you sitting down at a table, you can draw up your own court order and have a judge sign it. You can even make your own child support and sign it. You want to make it $1, as long as the other person agrees, it's $1. If you want to give $500 a week, you can give $500 a week. If you sign it and put it in front of a judge, that way if there's any arguments, you can change these agreements in the court orders. You don't have to follow it. You can have the last statement say, or as parties agree, which means you can change it any way you want. But when things hit the fan and you start arguing with each other, you have a fallback.
Yeah.
Because if you don't take that woman to court, or if you don't take that man to court, in the woman's case, you are essentially leaving it open for anyone to take control of that child. Whoever is that child is with at that point in time, if they file, they have custody until court is done.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. If you don't do child support as a man, my lawyer told me too, another story, and there's another thing too, is pay child support through the state. Do not pay cash. Do not pay checks to the mother unless you're getting receipts that you can document, but even then, put it through the court system.
So that you have a paper trail.
Paper trail. And the courts handle it. It comes right out of your paycheck. You don't even know there's no mess ups. There's no mailing. There's no, I forgot to send it. It went to the wrong place. If it's someone's fault, it's the state's fault. Because if you don't, there was a horror story my lawyer told me of a man who was paying child support for a kid for 15 years. Or he was paying child support, but not through the state, just with cash.
Okay.
Through an agreement. The mother decided to take him to court for child support after 15 years and got granted backdated child support for 15 years to the point where the child was born. The man owed $155,000 in child support, and he killed himself 3 days later because of it.
Holy shit.
That's what made me realize really quickly, like, no, there is no such thing as agreeing. Even if you live with the person, you love her to death still, and she loves you still, you get it put through the court system if you are not together. You put it through the court system, and the moment you split, you go to the court and put it through the court system.
Right.
Another thing is don't argue. Like we talked about earlier, don't feed into the bullshit, and don't be the bullshit. And that's the hardest part as a guy is a majority of the time we are the bullshit in these relationships.
Yeah.
When it comes to these single dad moments and stuff, because we're scared and we don't want to admit it, and that's when that testosterone kicks in and we get angry, and it's instead of being that scared puppy that we are that just wants to have a hug and being told everything's going to be okay and your kids aren't going to be taken from you, we lash out because we think it's being taken, and it's that maternal protector instinct. I will destroy anybody who gets in my way. And that will destroy you in the court system because the judges pick that apart. They don't care about your breakup. They don't care about who they're seeing. They don't care about the he said, the she said, the bullshit, none of it. Did it affect the child? No? Cool. This is what's happening. Who wants primary caretaker?
Black and white.
Black and white. That's it. And you have to go in there as the male and let it be black and white. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is facts only. Do not look at the mother unless it's friendly. When you're talking about a negotiation, even it's nothing. It is just facts and about the child always. Text messages too. Everything is documented. Don't be an idiot. Everything can be pulled on you in court. So when you text people that dumb line, that's going to be pulled. Don't text. Call. If you're going to say something stupid, let it be on the phone. And even then, that could be recorded. So just don't feed into it. Just hang up. Hang up the call. Put the phone away. Block them if you need to. Keep it as an email.
Yeah.
I've had when I put the boundaries in place and told them, listen, it's just about the kids at this point. You get no other information. Is our son okay? Yes. This is where he's at. Cool. Do you want to talk to him? Here you go. Everything else is on my discretion if I want to give you that information.
Exactly.
And that's how it needs to be on both sides. And as a male, too, you need to understand that they have that right to you. Like, you don't need to have that right to know where they are, what they're doing, who they're with, why the kid is doing this and all that. You don't have that right.
Exactly.
You just have the right to know is that the child is safe. That's literally it.
That's it.
That's where he is and if he's safe. That's it.
And don't wait till you hit rock bottom to
And don't wait
understand
till you
that.
hit rock bottom and understand that, because it gets rough down there.
One last thing before we wrap up the podcast. What's one thing from this episode, one thing that you really want to hammer home to the audience, to anyone listening, the one most important thing that you've either said or learned that made this journey doable?
Never give up. Never give up. It's a cliche saying, but never give up.
That's a great answer, Marco.
It's true, though, because I have wanted to give up 1,000 times, 1,000 times over. I mean, like, it's gotten to the point where I've had suicidal thoughts in the past and everything, and my kids keep you going because like you'd see the picture or you get that thought of that kid in your head and you're like, I can't do this, or that I'm afraid to take this jump, but if I don't, do I want my kid eating ramen noodle his entire life, or do I want to be able to get him steak every now and then? Like, you got to be able to just don't get comfortable and don't give up. That's the two best things in life that I can put out there for you, is, and that there's the light at the end of the tunnel. And that doesn't matter how dark it gets, you will find someone. Like I told you, remember when I broke up with Oliver's mother, was I'm never going to find anybody again. No one's going to want a single dad with two different baby moms, and he's arguing with two of them at given points of time any day. No one's going to want that, and I can't blame them. And then look what came along out of nowhere. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You just got to keep working, and you have to work on yourself. Otherwise, even if you get there, like what happened with me and Christina where we broke up, it was there, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to admit my own wrongdoings and work to better myself. I got comfortable and almost lost it again until rock bottom, and I realized I couldn't do this anymore. So like you said, don't let it hit rock bottom. Don't get comfortable.
Absolutely. I wanted to thank you for being on the podcast.
Hey, anytime. It's been fun.
It was a fantastic podcast, in fact. Anyone listening, I want you to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Any questions or comments that you have about the video, feel free to leave underneath. We got the podcast, social media going to be in the description as well. Any messages or anything that you want to know about being a single dad or Danny or anything like that, feel free to comment or message me, and we'll bring him back on for a second episode. Thank you for watching.